All right, for the second time, an IRS official is pleading the fifth.
Mr. Chairman, on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer any questions and invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege to remain silent.
Now, that deputy director refusing to answer questions about a $500 million contract awarded by the IRS. Now, it turns out the contract was reportedly given to a good friend of the guy, now refusing to talk. Apparently, he learned from Lois Lerner. Remember her refusing to comment on the targeting scandal.
I've decided to follow my counsel's advice and not testify or answer any of the questions today.
Now, to the judge who says they should talk, we should know exactly what they've done. Judge.
Charles, it's very, very frustrating to the American people, to those of us who watch this for a living, you from a financial point of view, me from a legal point of view, and to the American taxpayer. We are their employers. They are our employees, and they are privileged not to answer our questions. If Roger Ailes, who runs Fox, put me into his office and asked me questions relevant about my job here, and I refused to answer, he could fire me and have every right to do so, because he's not the government.
Right.
Government is constrained by the Fifth Amendment. The same Fifth Amendment that would let you or me remain silent in a courtroom allows them to remain silent before their bosses, before Congress, and before the American people.
But do you also think, Judge, that this goes, maybe they look at this differently than you look at it and I look at it. In other words, maybe they don't think they work for me and you. Maybe they think that their boss is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and that they're doing what he may want them to do by keeping shut.
I don't think there's any question that that's what they think. I agree with everything your two previous guests have said, as well as with many of our colleagues at Fox who have argued there is a culture in the IRS that we work for them. There is a culture in the IRS that our property is theirs before it's ours. There's actually some ideological support for that. But look, there is a way to get these people to speak, a perfectly lawful way. If the Congress were to give immunity to one or two of them, it would take a vote by both houses of Congress, they would lose their Fifth Amendment protection. They would then have an obligation to speak, and if they didn't speak, they'd go to jail until they spoke. The other way is to charge one of them with a crime, but that involves the executive branch. The Congress doesn't prosecute. And I really don't think we're going to see the day where a federal prosecutor working for the Obama administration decides to charge one of these people with a crime. The third thing the Congress can do is to remove their personal immunity. This nonsense about paying $1,000 an organization coming from taxpayer dollars, if it came from the personal assets of the IRS agents and management who abused their authority, then you'd see that abuse stop overnight.
Well, I think if you gave them all three of those options, the last one, they probably wouldn't take it all. The first one, the immunity, I think a few may grab. But here's the thing. How do you feel? You're watching the proceedings. Because when I watch it, it feels like there's one set of people, mostly the Republicans, trying to get at the answer, and another set of people, and I hate to say it, but the Democrats who are really playing defense, that they're blocking, that they're tackling, and the truth, is it going to be able to escape? Or are we ever going to find out the truth the way it's going right now?
No, I don't think we're going to find out the truth the way it's going now, unless the executive branch of the government, the Attorney General, a U.S. attorney, indicts someone, or unless the Congress, and it requires both houses and therefore both parties, grants immunity, or unless the president unleashes his minions and unlocks their silence in the IRS, we're never going to find out what's happening. And Charles, this is not just a Republicans are good, Democrats are bad. Both parties do this. One of the reasons the IRS has the broad discretion that it has to tighten the screws on one set of 501c3s or C4s and loosen the screws on another is because whoever is in the White House wants to be able to use the IRS as a personal tool of terror, and presidents from both parties have done it.
You're
Not to the
right.
extent that Barack Obama has done it, but presidents of both parties have done it.
And perhaps anyone who is blocking and tackling now should remember that, just in case a different group or a different political party gets in the White House next time, because to your point, it seems like the stakes keep getting raised, and the big losers from all of this seems to be liberty and the American people.
You got it. And our property.
All right.
And our assets. And our hard-earned dollars.
Want to keep going? Hey, Judge, you know what? You've been preaching this stuff from day one, and almost every time I pick up the paper and read about it, I think of you first. I appreciate you taking out the time tonight.
You're very kind, and it's always a pleasure to work with you, Charles. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Now,